Every thought we think is a seed planted in the rich soil of our subconscious mind. Every word we speak is the blueprint of what is to come. Life does not happen to us. It answers us. We live in a world governed not by chance but by divine law, a law that is silent, sure, and always just. What we radiate in consciousness must return to us in form. That is the alchemy of life, and this indeed creates miracles. Now, what is this? It is the hidden power within each soul, the unseen force that shapes destiny. It is the unwavering faith, the perfect word, the clear mental picture that calls forth the invisible into the visible. This power does not shout. It whispers. It moves not in chaos but in silence. It does not beg, it knows. It does not strive, it trusts. And it always delivers in perfect time, in perfect form. Let us cast aside the world's noise, the doubt of the senses and the clamor of appearances. Appearances are nothing. Principle is everything. The person who lives by appearances is tossed by every storm, but the one who walks in principle walks upon the sea. When you declare the end from the beginning, and hold unwaveringly to your vision, you place yourself in tune with the divine law of harmony. All things begin to move, seen and unseen, to bring about your good. The key is alignment, not effort. The key is speaking the word, then resting in its power. Many people try, and yet they do not receive, because they are filled with fear, with doubt, with resentment. These things block the miracle. The law does not hear your words alone, it hears your feelings, your true inner state. If you speak lack while feeling fear, you call forth more lack. But if you speak your word with the boldness of a prophet, and feel joy as though the miracle were already here, then heaven and earth must bend to fulfill it. There is a law that goes forth when you speak with certainty. There is a vibration that echoes through all substance when you know, with the knowing of the soul, that what you ask is already yours. This is not fantasy. This is not illusion. This is truth, higher than logic, deeper than reason. The subconscious knows no joke. It takes every word as law. And when you speak the truth with feeling, with conviction, the miracle begins at once, though you may not yet see it. Do not be concerned with how. That is not your realm. Your task is to prepare the mold, to create the form in mind, to water it with praise and thanksgiving, to protect it with faith. Then step back. The divine intelligence within knows the way, and it will never fail. The bridge will appear. The door will open. The light will dawn, and what seemed impossible will stand before you, real, radiant, and complete. This creates miracles. Every word we speak, every thought we think, is a seed planted in the vast, fertile garden of the subconscious mind. Most people wander through life unaware that their inner conversations and beliefs are shaping every detail of their experience. They speak idly, complain without restraint, and think thoughts steeped in fear, doubt, and limitation. Then wonder why lack, struggle, and disappointment appear at every turn. The truth is this: your world is a reflection of your inner world. It mirrors your beliefs, your assumptions, and especially your words. There is no exception to this law. What you hold in consciousness must, by the nature of spiritual law, unfold in your outer life. Words are not empty sound. They carry vibration, frequency, and creative power. Every statement you make sets energy in motion. When you say, "I can't afford it," or "I never get what I want," you are giving a direct command to the creative forces of the universe. And those forces, obedient and impersonal, go to work fulfilling exactly what you have spoken. The law does not decide whether what you are saying is good or bad, right or wrong. It simply obeys. It mirrors. It reflects. Your word is your wand, and with it, you write the script of your life. Thoughts, too, are living things. Every thought is a form, and persistent thoughts are magnets. What you dwell on, you draw near. A person who constantly worries about being hurt will find themselves repeatedly facing betrayal. A person who silently believes they are unworthy of love will unconsciously repel affection. The subconscious mind is always listening, not to what you wish were true, but to what you truly believe. And your beliefs are built one thought at a time. When you begin to observe your inner dialogue, you will likely be astonished at how often your thoughts and words contradict your desires. You may wish for prosperity, but continually affirm lack by saying things like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "It's hard to get ahead these days." You may desire health, yet constantly speak of ailments, fatigue, or aging. You may long for love, yet think thoughts of jealousy, comparison, or fear of rejection. These are not harmless musings. They are powerful creative forces. They are writing the script from which your life unfolds. The first step toward any miracle is the conscious discipline of the tongue and the mind. You must become the gatekeeper of your thoughts. Watch them as you would watch a child near a fire. Gently but firmly correct every negative or fear-based thought and replace it with one of truth, beauty, and divine order. Say not, "I am sick," but rather, "Divine life now flows through every cell of my being." Say not, "I never have enough," but instead, "I am divinely provided for. All my needs are met in perfect ways." This is not blind optimism or delusion. It is spiritual law. You are planting seeds for your future, and the harvest will reflect what you have sown. Many people try to manifest good, while their thoughts and words are steeped in fear and contradiction. They say affirmations, yet afterward doubt them. They pray for healing while believing the condition is incurable. They visualize wealth, yet feel guilty or unworthy of abundance. This split energy is the reason results are often delayed or absent. The creative law responds not to your momentary wishes, but to your sustained inner state. One must unify thought, word, and belief to see the miraculous. The spoken word carries particular power because it is thought made manifest. It is vibration given form. It enters not only your own subconscious, but also the ethers around you. It radiates outward, shaping events, attracting people, and influencing outcomes. Just as a tuning fork causes another to vibrate in harmony, your words set off a chain of responses in the invisible realms. If you say, "I am blessed," repeatedly and with feeling, your life begins to mirror that blessing. You will notice small things at first. A kind gesture, a gift, a shift in atmosphere. But keep at it, and the entire landscape of your life will change. Children learn language early, but few are taught that their words hold the power of creation. Imagine a young child being constantly told, "You're clumsy," or "You're always so shy." That child internalizes those words, and unless corrected later in life, they become silent beliefs that shape personality and behavior. The reverse is also true. A child who hears, "You are brilliant," or "You are so loved and supported," will likely grow into confidence and resilience. Words spoken over ourselves and others carry immense weight. They are not forgotten by the subconscious. They imprint. One reason people find it hard to change their words is because they do not believe change is possible. They feel powerless in the face of circumstances and believe that speaking the truth of the spirit is somehow denying reality. But it is not denial. It is a higher affirmation. When you say, "I am whole," in the face of sickness, you are not ignoring your body. You are calling on the divine blueprint of health to be re-established. When you say, "I am prosperous," while in debt, you are not lying. You are aligning with the truth of your being. Spirit is the only true substance, and it knows only wholeness, abundance, and peace. Everything that appears in your life was first formed in the invisible realm of mind. Nothing comes from the outside in. It is always from the inside out. The job, the relationship, the healing, the opportunity, all begin with a thought. This is why spiritual teachers throughout time have urged us to renew the mind. Your outer conditions may appear to be shaped by forces beyond your control, but they are echoes of inner assumptions long held and spoken aloud again and again. Change the root, and the branches must change. Transform the thought, and the experience must follow. You do not need to beg the universe. You do not need to plead for miracles. You only need to align your inner world with the truth of your divine nature. Speak as one with authority. Declare that which you wish to see. Think thoughts that honor the highest vision of your life. When your words become one with the truth of your being, when your thoughts no longer betray your spirit, You will witness changes that seem sudden and impossible to others. But you will know they were born the moment you took hold of your creative power. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It is not a vague wish or a passive hope, it is a spiritual force, a knowing that transcends reason. It is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the link between your desire and its fulfillment. Faith is not shaken by appearances, and it does not wait for proof. It claims the result before a single sign appears. When coupled with feeling, the deep emotional conviction that what you have spoken is already done, faith becomes the very engine of miracles. This is the key to divine demonstration. This is how the unseen becomes seen. Most people approach life through the lens of logic. They say, "I'll believe it when I see it." But the laws of spirit demand the opposite. You'll see it when you believe it. The visible world is but the outpicturing of consciousness. Everything that now exists was once only a belief, a vision, a word spoken with faith. When you understand this, you begin to step out of limitation and into your true creative power. You realize that you are not a victim of fate, but a co-creator with the divine, and your tool is faith. Faith is not always loud. It does not always shout or strive. Sometimes it is a quiet certainty, an unshakable inner stillness that refuses to be moved. It stands firm in the face of contradiction. It does not ask, "How can this be?" It simply knows, it is. You may not see the way. The conditions may appear impossible. But faith ignores circumstances and holds steadfast to the truth that the answer is already prepared, that divine intelligence is already at work, and that nothing is too hard for spirit. The role of feeling is just as vital. Thought alone cannot create unless it is charged with emotion. The subconscious does not respond to words without life. It responds to words filled with conviction, with belief, with feeling. When you say, "I am healed," and feel the joy of wellness, you send a message deep into the creative center of your being, and it begins its work. When you say, "I am divinely provided for," and feel peace and confidence in your heart, the doors to supply begin to open. The feeling is the magnet. It is the substance of faith that molds the unseen into form. You cannot deceive the law. You may speak words of affirmation, but if your inner state is filled with doubt, fear, or resistance, the results will match that inner vibration, not the spoken words. This is why many people say affirmations yet see little change. They are speaking with their mouths but canceling it with their hearts. To activate the law, you must bring heart and word into harmony. When the feeling of belief and the word of power are one, the result must follow. This does not mean you must feel perfect all the time. Faith is not the absence of all doubt, but the willingness to return again and again to the truth. You may feel fear rise, but you do not have to dwell there. You may see delays, but you do not have to agree with them. You continue to speak your word, to feel its truth, and to walk forward as though the answer were already here. That is the discipline of faith. That is the power that creates miracles. There is a great illusion that surrounds timing. People often say, "It's taking too long," or "Nothing's happening." But in truth, the moment faith and feeling are fully aligned, the result begins. It may not yet be visible to the senses, but it is already in motion. Just as a seed germinates underground before sprouting through the soil, so too do your desires begin their manifestation in the unseen realm before they appear in the outer. To doubt during this time is to dig up the seed. To hold faith is to nourish it. Another illusion is the belief that strong effort brings results. But in spiritual law, it is not effort that moves mountains. It is faith. The person who strains, who pushes, who worries and wrestles with life is often met with resistance. But the one who speaks their word, feels the answer, and rests in assurance finds that doors open without struggle. Things align. Help arrives. Circumstances shift without force. This is not idleness, it is alignment. It is the power of spiritual relaxation, the calm knowing that divine law never fails. The world may call such a person foolish or unrealistic, but those who understand the law of faith know that reality is shaped from within. What seems foolish to the world is often wisdom in the spirit. When you hold your vision, speak your word, and feel the joy of the result, regardless of outer appearances, you are working with the highest laws of creation. You are doing what the mystics, the sages and the prophets have always done. You are walking by faith and not by sight. Faith is also contagious. When you hold a strong vibration of belief, others feel it. Opportunities are drawn to it. Circumstances bend toward it. There is something magnetic about a person who truly believes in their good. They do not chase after things. Things come to them. They do not plead with life, they command it with grace. They do not collapse under pressure, they rise above it with peace. This is not arrogance or fantasy. It is the natural result of understanding divine law and living in tune with it. One of the greatest practices for strengthening faith is praise. When you begin to thank the universe for your answered prayer before it arrives, you accelerate its appearance. Praise is the evidence of belief. It is the language of faith. When you wake each morning and say, "Thank you," the answer is already here. You are preparing the way. When you feel the joy of answered prayer now, the manifestation becomes inevitable. You cannot sincerely praise what you do not believe to be possible. And when you do believe, praise flows naturally. Another powerful practice is imagining the end. Instead of worrying about the process, place yourself mentally at the conclusion of your desire. See the goal already fulfilled. Feel what you would feel if it were done. Hear the sounds, see the details, breathe in the atmosphere of success. The subconscious does not distinguish between real and imagined. It responds to feeling and image. So when you dwell in the end, you are impressing the subconscious with a picture it will seek to out-picture. This is not daydreaming. It is creative direction. Faith also means letting go of control. You do not have to know how the answer will come. The how is not your domain. Your job is to define the what, to speak the word, to feel the result, and to allow divine intelligence to orchestrate the details. Often, the path that unfolds is far greater than anything the human mind could have planned. But that path only opens when you release attachment and rest in trust. You are not alone in the creation. You are partnering with infinite wisdom. Appearances are the great deceivers. They whisper limitation, lack, disease, failure, and delay. They parade themselves before the senses, begging for attention, demanding belief. But appearances are not truth. They are the shadows cast by past thinking, the outpicturing of old beliefs held in the subconscious mind. They do not represent what is, but what was. A reflection of yesterday's thoughts and emotions. To live by appearances is to be ruled by illusion. To bow to circumstances is to hand over your power. The wise know that the only truth is the truth of the spirit, the inner knowing that stands unmoved regardless of what the eyes see or the ears hear. To begin living by truth rather than by appearance is to step into mastery. It is to say, though the situation looks impossible, I know all things are possible with spirit. It is to declare abundance in the face of lack, wholeness in the face of illness, success in the face of setbacks. This is not denial, it is divine affirmation. It is not closing your eyes to the facts. It is opening your eyes to the higher truth that overrides facts. The world may call this madness, but in reality, it is the highest form of wisdom. Appearances shift and pass like clouds. Truth is eternal, unchanging, and ever-present. When you see a condition, be it financial, physical, or relational, that does not reflect your desire, you must refuse to give it power. You must declare silently or aloud, "This has no reality for me. I look beyond this to the truth." You are not pretending it does not exist. You are recognizing that it holds no authority. You understand that it is a result, not a cause. The cause lies within in consciousness, and when consciousness changes, the result must change also. This is law. People often fall into the trap of discussing their problems, analyzing them, retelling them, and thus giving them more energy. They describe their illness in detail, talk endlessly about their struggles, or constantly recount the injustice they've suffered. In doing so, they strengthen the very thing they wish to dissolve. The subconscious does not know that you dislike the condition you are speaking of. It only hears the vivid picture and accepts it as your desire. To shift a condition, you must cease giving it power through thought, word, and attention. You must begin to speak what you want, not what is. It takes courage to walk by truth and not by sight. The world trains us to trust only what we can measure, touch, and prove. But the spiritual path demands the opposite. It asks that we trust what we know. The quiet, unwavering conviction that we are always guided, always provided for, always supported by the invisible laws of good. This inner knowing is stronger than evidence, louder than fear, more certain than fact. It stands as a lighthouse in the storms of appearance and calls us home to peace. This knowing does not come from books or teachers alone. It is cultivated in the silence of your own heart. It grows as you practice it. Each time you choose to hold your vision in the face of contradiction, your spiritual muscles grow stronger. Each time you refuse to be shaken by delays or setbacks, your inner truth becomes more anchored. And eventually, the time comes when appearances no longer sway you. You begin to see through them, like veils falling away. You begin to walk with a confidence that cannot be explained, a peace that is not dependent on outcomes. To rely on truth is to rely on principle. Just as the laws of mathematics do not change because someone miscalculates, so the laws of the spirit do not waver based on temporary conditions. The law of supply, the law of health, the law of divine timing, all remain intact, even when the surface of life appears otherwise. When you build your life upon these invisible laws rather than shifting appearances, you become as the house built upon the rock, unmoved by wind or rain. Many people sabotage their desires by constantly checking for results. They plant the seed of intention and then dig it up daily to see if it has sprouted. They pray for prosperity, then anxiously watch their bank account. They affirm love, then question why they are still alone. This constant checking is a form of distrust. It strengthens the belief in appearances and weakens the belief in the truth. Instead, one must hold steady. One must say, "Though I see nothing yet, I know the law is at work. My good is on its way. I remain in peace." Truth also requires vision. You must see with the inner eye what is not yet visible to the outer. You must picture the healed body, the overflowing bank account, the harmonious relationship, not in a strained way, but with calm certainty. You are not making something happen. You are aligning with what already exists in the realm of spirit. The truth of your being is already whole, abundant, and complete. When you live from that truth, appearances must eventually conform. They are malleable, temporary projections. They are like clay, and truth is the sculptor's hand. It is essential to withdraw emotional reaction from appearances. This does not mean you become cold or indifferent. It means you refuse to panic or despair. You step back and remember who you are, a spiritual being with dominion over your world. You do not allow circumstances to dictate your mood, your belief, or your speech. You remain anchored in truth, and from that place of calm power you act. You may take inspired steps, make new choices, or speak your word, but you do so from a place of alignment, not desperation. This discipline of ignoring appearances is not easy at first. It feels unnatural because it is the opposite of how most people live. But with time, it becomes the only way to live. You will come to trust the inner more than the outer, the invisible more than the visible. You will learn to navigate life with an inner compass rather than external signs. And soon, appearances will no longer dictate your reality. They will begin to reflect your inner truth. When a condition arises that contradicts your desire, see it as a test of your alignment. It is not there to defeat you, but to strengthen your resolve. Use it as an opportunity to deepen your faith in the unseen good. Refuse to speak about it except to affirm its opposite. If you feel fear, acknowledge it, then turn again to truth. Say, "This too shall pass. Spirit knows no obstruction. Divine order is now established." These words are not just sounds, they are decrees. They set a new vibration in motion, and that vibration begins to dismantle the appearance. You may be tempted to seek sympathy or agreement from others when appearances are difficult. But unless those around you understand spiritual law, they may reinforce the very thing you are trying to release. Choose your words and your company with care. Surround yourself with those who speak truth, who remind you of your power, who refuse to join you in fear. Speak only what you wish to see made manifest. Think only thoughts that uplift, inspire, and align with your divine nature. The more you anchor into truth, the faster appearances dissolve. Conditions that once seemed solid and immovable begin to shift, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. You realize that life is not fixed. It is fluid. It responds to consciousness. It bends in the direction of belief. What you once accepted as reality is revealed to be temporary and malleable. You see that you have been shaping it all along, with every thought, every word, every feeling. And the more you choose truth, the more truth becomes your experience. To speak your word and trust the process is to step into the creative rhythm of divine law. It is to declare what you desire with clarity and certainty, and then release it into the infinite intelligence that knows how to bring it forth in perfect timing and perfect form. This is the essence of spiritual demonstration, a bold declaration followed by sacred surrender. It is not passive, and it is not forceful. It is a harmonious blending of authority and trust, will and wisdom, faith and allowance. When you speak your word, you impress upon the subconscious mind a command, and when you trust the process, you allow that command to unfold without interference. The spoken word is a form of directed energy. It is not mere sound, it is vibration, intention, and form in motion. When spoken with faith, the word acts as a spiritual seed planted in the soil of the invisible. Just as a farmer does not dig up the seed every day to see if it is growing, so must you release your word and rest in the knowing that it is done. You do not need to repeat it over and over from a place of doubt. You speak it once with power, and then return to it in silence or praise, affirming its fulfillment with confidence. Repetition born of fear disrupts the process. Repetition from joy strengthens it. The key is alignment. When you speak your word, you must do so from a place of spiritual certainty, not desperation. Desperation is a signal to the subconscious that you do not truly believe in the outcome. It is a contradiction to the word you have spoken. To speak your word is to claim your good, not to ask, not to hope, not to beg, but to declare that which is already yours by divine right. The law responds to certainty, not to pleading. It mirrors your inner state, not your outer efforts. Once the word is spoken, the temptation to manage, control, or manipulate the process often arises. The human mind wants to know how, when, and through whom the good will come. But the process belongs to the divine. You are not required to know the method, only to maintain your alignment with the outcome. You may be led to take action, and you will know it by its peaceful prompting. Inspired action flows from the center of calm certainty. It does not feel rushed, anxious, or forced. When you speak your word and trust the process, you remain available to the wisdom of the higher self, which orchestrates details far beyond the reach of logic. Interference comes when you doubt, worry, or speak against your own word. These are the weeds that choke the spiritual seed. To avoid this, guard your tongue and your thoughts carefully after you have made your declaration. Do not talk about your problem anymore. Do not analyze the lack, describe the symptoms, or explain the obstacles. These habits reinforce the old condition and delay the demonstration. Instead, turn your focus inward and upward. Dwell on the feeling of fulfillment. Speak of the good as if it were already present. Act as one who is expecting their miracle, not as one who is hoping for it. This discipline requires a deep inner shift. It demands that you release the habit of controlling outcomes and instead rest in the assurance that the law never fails. The law is always at work. It is impartial, dependable, and exact. It cannot be swayed by emotion or appearances. Once you have impressed your desire upon it through the spoken word, it begins its work at once. It sets into motion the people, circumstances, and events that will bring your desire into visible form. Your task is not to figure out how, but to stay aligned with the truth that it is already done. There is a rhythm to manifestation. There is a divine sequence that unfolds beneath the surface of events. Sometimes it is immediate, and sometimes it appears delayed. But the timing is never wrong. When you speak your word and then try to rush the process, you interrupt the rhythm. When you worry that nothing is happening, you shift your vibration from faith to fear. The invisible realm responds to vibration, not effort. If your vibration is one of knowing and peace, the process continues undisturbed. If your vibration is one of anxiety or impatience, the process is hindered. One of the most powerful things you can do after speaking your word is to give thanks. Gratitude is the evidence of belief. It signals to the subconscious mind and to the universe that you have received. Gratitude lifts your vibration and accelerates manifestation. It dissolves resistance and anchors you in the feeling of fulfillment. When you thank the divine for something not yet seen, you call it closer. You declare to life itself, I believe, I trust, I know that it is done. Another powerful practice is silence. After speaking your word, there is no need for constant verbal repetition. Sometimes, the most potent demonstration follows a single, unwavering statement. The silence that follows is not empty, it is filled with faith. It is the stillness that allows the seed to grow. In that silence, you listen for inner guidance, not instructions from fear, but quiet promptings from the deeper self. These nudges may lead you to act, to release, to shift, or simply to rest. But you do not act from panic, you act from purpose. To speak your word and trust the process also means releasing attachment to specific outcomes. You may desire something particular, a certain job, a specific amount of money, a particular person. But often, the universe delivers your good in a form greater than you imagined. When you are attached to one specific channel, you may block the flow through countless others. Your spoken word should focus on essence, not form. Declare the qualities you desire: freedom, abundance, love, harmony, and allow the divine intelligence to shape the perfect form. The outcome will often surprise and delight you when you allow it the freedom to unfold. There is a sacred confidence that develops over time when you live this way. You begin to see the law working in your life, and your trust deepens. You become less reactive to appearances and more responsive to intuition. You stop chasing after things and begin attracting them. You realize that your word has power, not because of who you are in the human sense, but because you are aligned with the source that creates all things. You begin to see yourself not as separate from your good, but as one with it. Doubt may arise, but it need not stay. When it comes, recognize it, release it, and return to the truth. The truth is that your word, once spoken in faith and charged with feeling, is a creative command. The process that follows is intelligent and sure. Your role is not to force but to allow, not to question but to trust. This requires spiritual maturity, the kind that grows through practice and patience, through observation and inner work. You do not need to convince others of your faith. The results will speak for themselves. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time. People will offer help, opportunities will arise, paths will open where none existed before. It may appear to be coincidence or luck to others, but you will know it is the result of your word and your trust. It is the law fulfilling its perfect promise, responding to your conviction and your calm expectation. Miracles manifest through alignment, not effort. This is a truth that transcends struggle, a principle rooted not in force but in harmony. So many people labor through life, believing that their worth and their desires can only be earned through relentless striving. They push, pull, hustle, and exhaust themselves, thinking that only through their effort will life yield its treasures. But spiritual law does not respond to toil, it responds to vibration. It responds to the alignment of thought, word, emotion, and belief with the nature of the desired outcome. When you are in harmony with what you seek, it begins to seek you. When your internal state matches the frequency of your vision, you become a magnet to it. Effort, in the human sense, is often tangled in resistance. It comes from a belief that things are far away, difficult to attain, and must be wrestled into existence. But alignment is ease. Alignment is clarity. It is not the absence of action, but the presence of the right action, taken at the right time, from the right state of being. Aligned action is not effortful. It is inspired. It feels guided, supported, even joyful. When you are aligned, you no longer act to make things happen. You act in response to the certainty that they already are. This alignment begins in the mind and the heart. It is not about pretending or forcing positive thoughts. It is about becoming internally consistent. Many people desire abundance, but their thoughts are rooted in lack. They affirm success with their words, but carry fear in their emotions. They visualize health, but speak often of illness. These inner contradictions delay the demonstration. The law receives mixed messages and produces results that reflect the confusion. True alignment means that your thoughts, feelings, words, and beliefs are all moving in the same direction. There is no cross-current, no division, no double-mindedness. To align with a miracle is to match the inner tone of the outcome before it appears. It is to feel as though it were already done. To dwell in the emotional atmosphere of the answered prayer. The mind alone cannot accomplish this. It is the heart that does the deeper work. Emotion is the carrier wave of belief. It imprints the subconscious and sets the creative process in motion. When you feel healed, even while symptoms persist, you are aligning with health. When you feel prosperous, even if the bank account is low, you are aligning with abundance. That feeling state is the signal to the universe, and the universe answers not your condition, but your vibration. Alignment is also about surrender. It means releasing resistance, releasing the need to control every step, releasing the fear that things may not unfold as you wish. When you are truly aligned, you are not grasping. You are not begging or bargaining. You are allowing. You are open, receptive, and calm. You trust that what you have asked for is already making its way to you, and your role is to remain a welcoming space for its arrival. Resistance clogs the channel. Alignment clears it. When you surrender the how and remain faithful to the what, you make room for grace. Spiritual traditions across time have taught this principle in different words. Be still and know. Ask, believing you have received. Speak the word and do not doubt. These are all instructions to align, not to struggle. The divine order of life is not chaotic. It responds with precision to the inner pattern. You are not a beggar before the universe. You are a creator working with law. You shape the formless through your alignment. You impress the invisible with your certainty. You call forth the unseen through your inner congruence. Effort alone can often become a form of resistance. It reinforces the idea that you are separate from your good. It places the good out in front of you as something to be reached for, rather than something that already exists in the field of infinite potential. Alignment collapses that distance. It brings the desired condition into the present moment. You no longer see your desire as there. You begin to embody it. You begin to live from it, not just toward it. And in that embodiment, the world begins to rearrange itself to reflect your inner state. This is not to say that no work is ever required, but rather that work born from alignment is effortless in its impact. It flows. It yields. It resonates. You find yourself saying the right thing at the right time, meeting the right person, arriving at the perfect place. You do not have to force or manipulate circumstances. They bend toward you. Life begins to cooperate with your vision when that vision is no longer clouded by internal resistance. There is great power in recognizing when your efforts are outpacing your alignment. When you find yourself frustrated, exhausted, or bitter despite how hard you are trying, it is a sign to pause, to return inward, to recalibrate. Ask yourself, what am I believing right now? What feeling am I projecting? Am I acting from fear or from trust? These moments of honest reflection are sacred. They pull you back into your center, where the real work occurs, not on the outer plane, but within the sanctuary of consciousness. Some people are addicted to effort because they equate it with worthiness. They believe that unless they suffer for their dreams, they do not deserve to receive them. This belief is rooted in limitation and must be released. You are worthy by your very being. You do not have to earn your good. You must align with it. The universe does not reward struggle, it responds to vibration. It is not impressed by how hard you work, but by how deeply you believe. The most powerful shifts in your life will come not from doing more, but from being more centered, more open, more aligned with your true nature. To align with a miracle is also to align with the miraculous nature of your own self. You are not separate from the divine. You are an expression of it. When you speak your word, when you hold your vision, when you trust the process, you are not reaching for something beyond you. You are activating something within you. The miracle is not outside waiting to come in. It is within you, waiting to be released. It moves through you, shaped by your consciousness, fueled by your feeling, delivered through your faith. Each time you choose alignment over effort, you step into grace. You step into the current of life where things unfold in divine order. You stop forcing, and you start flowing. You stop doubting, and you start knowing. You stop struggling, and you start receiving. The shift may be subtle at first, but its impact is immense. Doors open where none existed. Circumstances change without warning. The impossible becomes possible. Not because you worked harder, but because you aligned deeper. This way of living is not reserved for mystics or saints. It is available to anyone who is willing to turn inward, to clear the noise, and to remember the truth. The truth that you are already connected to all that you desire. The truth that life responds to your state of being. The truth that miracles are not random events. They are the natural result of divine alignment. When you align, you harmonize with the infinite, and in that harmony, all things are possible.